Ma'am, can you hear us? Ma'am, can you hear us? Senora.
I think she's connected to. Okay.
Let's do this. Mr. Rulo, I think we're going to have to come back to this one.
Understood.
Okay. And in the meantime, if Mr. Marrero can work with Ms. Cadillo to get her connected, to be helpful. Okay. Does anyone else have a matter? Mr. Johnson, unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of the board. I would like to bring your attention to case number 1, Appeal HA-2022-001493 for 2115 Siebert Street, the appeal of Joshua Cohen. The parties in this case are asking the board to continue the matter. Part of the reason is that the appellant is an individual who had bought this property at sheriff's deed, but the property had been redeemed by the former owner. And there still is some dispute about who's the responsible party for the property because the former owner never relinquished possession to anyone and is still the resident in the property. For that reason, we're asking for a continuance of 60 days.
Okay, and the parties are taking legal action between the two?
Yes, well, she's in bankruptcy, and there's been some discussion about an ejectment action, but there's still a dispute, and for that reason, we're asking for another continuance.
Okay, we'll continue for 60 days.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Ms. Curley?
Yes, good afternoon, board. Wanted to bring your attention to 2 matters. Number 19 on the list, that is appeal number HA 2022-002625. The appellant is O'Rourke and Sons, Inc. at 6618 Ridge. That matter has been settled. That settlement was forwarded to the board, and I can read those terms in and the board can vote.
Thank you.
If you are ready.
Yes.
So the violation cited in the notice of violation, CF 2022-048932, that is affirmed, and the fine to be imposed for the violation cited in this notice is reduced to $500.
Okay.
So just ask the board to vote to city affirm.
Okay, thank you. We'll then poll the board on HA-2022-002625, 6618 Ridge Avenue, O'Rourke and Sons Incorporated. City affirmed with a $500 fine per agreement between the parties.
City affirmed with a $500 fine per agreement of both parties.
City affirmed $500 fine per agreement of the parties.
City affirmed $500 fine per agreement between the parties.
Thank you very much. Okay.
And then the second issue I just wanted to raise, and a scheduling issue. Okay. It is number 33 on the list.
Yes.
For HA 2022-002770.
Yes.
The department's inspector needs to leave by 4:30. He can log on again after 5:30, but needs that hour-long window.
Yes, Curly, there was a continuance request on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't aware of that.
It just came in prior to the hearings.
Okay.
So does the city support that continuance request?
The city's ready to proceed now. I don't know what the basis of the continuance request is.
I think there was, from what I'm told, there was international travel involved.
There was a flight itinerary that was sent about 5 minutes prior to the hearings. I believe they were just getting back into I didn't look at the actual dates on the itinerary, but they were in an email. I'll forward them to you, Ms. Crowley.
Yeah. So if Mr. Wade could forward that to me, I'll review it, and then maybe you can come back to me about.
Yeah. What I'll do then, we will move on. We'll hold this matter till later.
Okay. Thank you.
Given the complications you may have with your witness, it may be easy just to continue it to another time.
Okay, I'll review it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to accommodate your witness. Okay, given the status of other cases, we just don't know yet.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
All right. Let's see here. Let me just go down the list here. Ms. Goll, G-O-L-L. Ma'am, are you with the law department? Please unmute.
Oh, no, well, our pastor, Your Honor, our pastor is having difficulty getting on because he's on the Zoom lane, he's Burma, but he cannot hear you all, nor can he speak.
Well,
so
we're gonna have to.
I was just wondering if you're past his number already, because I don't know.
No, we haven't. We haven't called that matter yet.
All right, thank you, sir.
So we'll let you know. Okay, Ms. Reinhardt.
Good afternoon, board. I have two matters, but the first one is, I believe actually the case that Ms. Gall is referring to. This is, the owner is Candlelight Deliverance Ministry, and the appellant was Mr. Gall.
What's the address? What's the number?
This is number 31 on the list, 7105 Woodland Avenue, HA 2022-002752.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we want to circle back when he is able to join online in order to clarify.
Okay, let's do that. Let's circle back because administratively we have some matters as well that should be addressed. So let's circle back. Okay, is there another matter?
There is. There was a continuance request for number 5 that is for 5648 Malcolm. That is HA 2022-002017. Unfortunately, the inspector is not available today.
Okay, so let's see here. Is the appellant present? Derek Hopkins? Is Derek Hopkins present? Anyone representing the interests of 5648 Malcolm Street? Okay, we will continue that matter based on the city's request.
Thank you.
Okay, all righty. Let's move on. Mr. Rulo.
I'm here, sir.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
I'm Derek Hopkins.
Okay, Mr. Hopkins, can you present yourself via video?
No, I'm not able to do so.
Okay, that matter has been continued on the request of the city. They've asked to be continued because of a witness issue.
Okay, and what status does that put me at? What should I wait to hear from you again from your
yes,
from your office?
You will get a notice. You'll get a written notice with a new date.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, and also I'd request that between now and whatever the new date is, that you figure out how to participate via video so we can see you.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we need to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Rulo.
Yes, I did have another continuance I wanted to draw the board's attention to, in addition to the one where we were waiting for Ms. Cadillo to have access to a device. The other continuance, though, is in reference to number 10 on the list.
Number 10.
Appeal ending 002547, and the appellant is a Ronald Manuel. The city was unable to complete a reinspection at this property, and it sounds like this violation is likely complied. So we would just ask for a brief continuance to complete that inspection.
Okay. Is anyone present representing the interests of 851 North 20th Street, Ronald Manuel?
Sir, I'm his son. He stepped away to the bathroom for a moment. I'm really sorry. I can go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll just show my face. Here he is. Sorry.
Okay. Well, the city has asked for continuance. They want to reinspect. They believe that the violation may have been complied, so they want to schedule the inspection. Okay.
Okay. And they'll call me for reinspection time, or? Yeah,
they'll get in touch with you.
Okay, very good. Yes, I've done my best, and I do have the vines, but I'd like to keep my vines on the
okay. Well, no need to discuss the details or the facts. So they'll connect with you to do a reinspection. Okay.
Okay, they'll send a letter, or
Mr. Rulo, how will that be done?
I believe there's an email on the appeal form, and I will coordinate via email.
The city's lawyer will coordinate via email. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay.
And then, Chairman, I'm not sure if Ms. Cadillo is available now on number 24.
Okay, let's go back to that. Let me just check with our tech person. Were we able to resolve connectivity, Mr. Wade?
She's on a new
I
device
believe
now,
so.
yes.
Okay, alriady.
Please unmute, Ms. Cadillo.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rulo, put that one on the record again, please.
Yes, that is appeal number 24, appeal ending 002713. The appellant is Biditza Cadillo.
Okay, and that matter is considered to be, what's the status of that?
There were two questions here. The first is that Ms. Cadillo is not the person who is cited with the notice of violation or the owner of the property. And then the second issue is that the city noted that this involves a zoning matter, and there is a zoning board of adjustment hearing in June.
Okay, Ms. Cadillo, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear affirm testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cadillo, there are two questions. One, what is your relationship to this property?
I'm the expediter working with the property owner to get her zoning permit.
Okay, you can't represent her in these appeals.
She's also here. She's right here, Miss. She's the property owner.
What is her name? Okay, okay, is her name on the appeal application anywhere?
Yes.
I believe as a property owner, yes.
The appellant information listed is Biditza Cadillo, so it is not the owner that's listed on the appeal document. And if we could just get the name of the individual who's also in the car.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, you need to, Ms. Cadillo, just for a moment. The appellant will have, well, two things. One, she will have to represent herself unless if the property is owned as a corporation or LLC, she needs a lawyer. And you cannot represent her in these hearings. Third thing, if she does not understand English well enough to represent herself, we have to have an official interpreter. You cannot interpret for her. Okay? So okay, for purposes of this meeting, though, we just need her to give us her name and address so that we can make sure that she's properly notified. Mr. Rulo, is that sufficient or is there something else?
Yes, I think at this point, given the additional language issue, that we can continue this until after that zoning board of adjustment hearing and then resolve it at that time.
Actually, that's exactly what we wanted to ask. She's here, she could ask herself. Actually, that's what we wanted to. We wanted to make sure.
Okay, Mr. Deal, just let her give us her name, okay? Ask her to put her name on the record.
My name is Mr. Chair, you need to swear her in.
Yes, I need to do that. But, well, let's do this. In this instance, because there's a language issue, I'm just going to get her name for the record. Ma'am, please give us your name.
Zuny Donado.
Spell that, please.
Z-U-N-Y. My last name, D-O-N-A-D-O.
Z-U-N-Y.
Z-U-N-Y, Zuny.
Yes.
Donado, D-O-N-A-D-O.
Okay, thank you. And we will, all future correspondence should be sent to her. So we need to have, is there an address on the form, Mr. Rulo?
Yes, there is.
Okay, all right, thank you. And please note that we will have to get an interpreter for you for any future hearings.
Thank you. And that's a Spanish interpreter?
Yes.
Spanish, thank you.
I assume Spanish, right, Ms. Cadillo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Spanish.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, could you make sure we have her right address?
Yeah, that's what I was conferring with Mr. Rulo about. He has the record in front of him.
But do we have hers or do we have the other lady's address?
Both.
There's one address on the appeal form and it's 3675 Frankfurt Avenue. The address on the notice of violation, which was the document that was issued to Ms. Donato, instead lists an address of 108 Nicholson Road, Gloucester City. So the actual appeal form, as the board members noted, we still have a standing issue here. And there's only one address on the appeal form.
Okay, so Ms. Cadillo, would you confirm for us which is the property address for Ms. Donato?
The New Jersey address is her home address.
Okay, we'll use the New Jersey address. Mr.
Is there
Rulo,
a
is that
possible way
you had
to
that?
get an inspection?
No,
on the property?
ma'am, you can't speak until we actually speak. You're speaking over.
Sorry.
Mr. Rulo, do you have that New Jersey address?
It is listed on the notice of violation. I would just, at this point, I understand it's being continued, just preserve the city's objection that this not be converted into an appeal by Ms. Donato, given that the appeal is the appellant's name is different. It's in the expediter's name. I understand it's being appealed. I just want to note that for the record that we're maintaining that objection.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so for the moment, this matter is being continued until after the zoning matter is resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Washington, I think we've covered those matters. Okay.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Rulo?
Not on my part. I believe that Mr. Fernandez does have a matter to raise.
Yes. Mr. Fernandez is the newbie. He's back. So he's last.
Thank you, members of the board. No problem there. I'd like to call your attention to matter number 16 on the list with appeal number ending in 2612. The appellant is Ilsan Prussian, who I understand is here today. The city is requesting a continuance in that matter because the inspector is unexpectedly unavailable today.
Okay. And the appellant Ilsan Prussian. You available, sir? Yes, please unmute. Sir, you're currently muted. Yes, sir. The city has requested
I can hear.
continue this matter. So we will honor the city's request and continue it for another hearing date. Apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused in your case. Okay.
Can I have your email? I can forward my documentation, my photos.
Yes, Mr. Prussian, I emailed you this morning when I learned that the inspector wasn't going to be available today. You should have an email from me. Let me know if you didn't receive it, and I can give you a call if you haven't received my emails.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This matter is continued. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay.
I have two other matters,
Yes.
administrative matters for the board. I'd like to turn your attention next to number 18 on the list, appeal ending in 2623 with appellant Dilip Nuthulaganti. That matter is moot. I don't believe that a moot complied disposition is appropriate because it was an appeal of a letter notifying the appellant that a payment had been returned by essentially a check had bounced.
Okay.
I learned recently that he has subsequently submitted the payment, his rental license is not being suspended, and so the matter's moot. However, because it wasn't a violation, I would ask that the disposition just be moot.
Okay, it's noted as moot. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Finally, number 35 on the list, appeal number ending 1719 with appellant Anthony Castaneda. I have settled that matter. I submitted documentation reflecting the settlement to board administration earlier this week. The terms of the settlement are all violations subject to the appeal. That is the violations under CF 2022-020-822 are city affirmed with a 45-day stay of enforcement.
45-day stay? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We will poll the board regarding HA-2022-001719-193 Berner Street. Anthony Castaneda, settlement between the parties, city affirmed 45-day stay of enforcement.
City confirmed with a 45-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 45 days stay of enforcement as per settlement agreement.
City affirmed 45-day stay of enforcement with the settlement agreement.
Thank you. Is that it, Mr. Fernandez?
Yes, that concludes my administrative matters.
Okay.
Thank you, members of the board.
Yes, Mr. Domer, are you with the City of Philadelphia Law Department?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Joshua Domer. I represent the Department of Revenue as a member of the city's Tax and Revenue Unit.
Okay.
To direct your attention to number 34 on the list, ending 002483 with a Manuel Cuevas.
Yes.
This matter appears to be an appeal of a license revocation notice that was issued for a commercial activity license. The petitioner filed a petition with the Tax Review Board, and the petitioner received a favorable award from the Tax Review Board. The City of Philadelphia sent out a notice to the petitioner on April 17th, stating that the petitioner had until July 17th to either remit payment on the amount that is remaining or to enter into a payment agreement with the Department of Revenue. So at this point, there is no revocation action that is active. There is no more collection or enforcement activity. So the license is no longer, there is no action to revoke the commercial activity license. It's my understanding the license was never revoked. So that would make this matter moot.
Okay, so this case is number 34, HA-2022-002483. We should note it as moot, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Do we have anyone else? Okay, there are a few items that I need to bring to your attention. So let me take a look at my list. Number 31, let's get to that one. Barmer Gold, and I believe Ms. Reinhardt was handling that.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Ms. Jamsita Gold, is the pastor, has he been able to join us via Zoom?
He's on, but he's having difficulty with the speaker.
Okay, well, let's I think if he can hear us, I think what we're going to have to do.
He can't even hear you, so he's trying to. He's going to see if he can get a earpiece or headphone, you know, to connect and see.
Okay, well, you can share with him what we're going to do then. This is going to be an administrative. We're not going to hear the case today, so let's start with that. Okay. And so, Ms. Reinhardt, what was your issue?
There are two here. First is a question of standing because the appeal was submitted by Mr. Gull, and the owner is Candlelight Deliverance Ministry. And the second is that Candlelight Deliverance Ministry is, I believe, a corporation, and in which case it would need an attorney according to board rules.
Okay, thank you. There are two, and also the board would note that there's an issue of timeliness. And so, Ms. Gold, there's a couple things. One, because this property is owned by a corporation, the religious institution, you need a lawyer, has to represent your interests in these matters. The second thing is timeliness. It doesn't appear that you submitted your appeal in a timely fashion. It appears that your violation occurred sometime in March of 22, and you didn't submit your appeal to 2023. And so that's a considerable time difference. And so the board, given that that is the case, unless we hear some strenuous argument otherwise, we would not hear the case. Ms. Reinhardt, any position on that?
I just want to clarify, I believe the appeal was filed 6/29/2022. So
okay.
Yeah, I agree. It was untimely.
Okay.
But I just wanted to clarify the date.
Okay. And so the issue is between March and June of 2022. So that would be the issue here. And given that, it's the board's position is it will not hear it because of the untimely appeal. Now, Ms. Gall, what you can do, you can have your attorney request a reconsideration, and the board will consider that, but there is no guarantee that we will hear it. Understood?
Yeah, okay. I'm a little strange to this, so I just want to get the message correct to be able to pass it on.
Sure, the message is this. One, to have a case heard before us as a company, as a corporation, which your religious institution is, needs a lawyer. That's the first thing. The second thing is that your appeal is, you have 30 days to appeal a decision or an act by the LNI. You've waited several months before you've appealed. And so based on that, the board also is not likely to hear your appeal.
So in order for them to hear it, I have to get a lawyer that will come in.
Yes, but the lawyer has to, on your behalf, your lawyer has to ask for reconsideration, because at this point, the decision of the board is to not hear it because of timeliness.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you. Ms. Reinhardt, is that appropriate for your records?
It is, thank you.
Okay, so it's basically, it's a timeliness matter. The board will not be hearing this. It's dismissed. Okay?
Okay.
All right, let's move on. I think that was the last preliminary matter we had to address before we hear the list. Okay, let's go back, Mr. Wade, to the top.
Chairman, I apologize. I do have one other matter that I believe is untimely.
Okay.
It is number 7 on the list, address 1497 North 53rd Street, HA 2022-002465. The notice of violation was issued on April 14th, 2022, and the appeal was not filed until June 3rd, 2022.
Okay, and is the appellant present?
I believe he is.
Andre Clark.
Yes, that's me.
Ms. Clark, raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Clark, are you the owner of this property?
Yes, I am.
Are there any other names on the deed other than yours?
No.
And it's owned as your property as an individual name, not as a corporation or LLC?
Correct. Just my name.
Yes, you're over a month late appealing this. 2 months late, essentially.
No, I went down to the municipal building when I got the letter, and I did do according to what it said. They gave me the violation. I fixed it, and then I went down because they said something else.
Mr. Clark, wait a minute, Mr. Clark. You aren't responding to my question to you. It's the dates where all of this occurred. The violation notice, according to our records, is April 14th, 2022. You didn't appeal until June 3rd, 2022.
I was going through COVID at the time. All this occurred, and I did the best I could.
Meaning that you were ill with COVID yourself?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Well, given that, Mr. Reinhardt, we'll hear the matter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We'll hear the matter. We'll call it in order, Mr. Clark. So just sit tight for a moment.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. So let's go back to the list then. Mr. Wade, I think we're on number 2 and 3.
Yes. You want me to read them both in the record?
Yes.
Okay. It's case number 2, hearing appeal number HA 2022-001825, 5301 Haverford Ave, Kenneth Bentley. And case number 3, hearing appeal number HA 2022-004162, 5301 Haverford Ave, Kenneth Bentley.
Okay. Anyone present representing the interest in that property? I believe there's a lawyer involved, a counsel, Mr. Corey Leon. Mr. Leon.
That's me. You're up. Yep, that's me.
Oh, okay. Mr. Leon, is your client available?
He is. He's here in the call.
I just need him to speak up so I can swear him in.
President, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we need to see you.
I'm trying to click on. Start my video.
Okay, who's representing the city in this matter?
Good afternoon, Board. Caroline Curley, counsel for the city.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Kenneth Bentley. Okay, Ms. Curley, do you have a witness today?
Yes, board. I have LNI Inspector Eric Brown.
Is he present with us? Yeah, I see his
He is,
image.
yes.
Okay, Mr. Brown, would you unmute yourself, please? Okay, Mr. Brown and Mr. Bentley, would both of you kindly raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Brown, I believe you said yes.
Yes.
As well. Okay, thank you. You can place your hands down. Mr. Leon, if you unmute yourself, I need you to put your name on the record, please.
Yes, Attorney Corey Leon, attorney for Mr. Bentley.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bentley, just a preliminary comment by me. You've brought legal counsel to the hearing, which is perfectly fine and a smart move. I'd ask you to just pay attention to your lawyer and respond as he directs you to respond. If you need to have a confidential conversation, we will provide a breakout room for you to do that. I assume you two of you are not in the same office space. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The city will begin by presenting its understanding of the facts and we'll call its witness. After that's done, Mr. Leon may do the same. Of course, you will both have the opportunity to cross-examine all witnesses. Ms. Curley?
Yes, thank you, board. This appeal involves a property at 5301 Haverford Avenue. That's a property in the Haddington neighborhood in West Philadelphia. Originally, there were 11 violations written by the department on this property. As of today, there are 4 outstanding violations that have not been complied. Those violations are for operating essentially a boarding house without a use registration permit, as the property is zoned for single family use, and for operating without any sort of rental license, a fire extinguisher, a fire code violation for operating, for having inoperable and expired fire extinguishers, and for a violation for operation of a cease of operations order. So we will be asking for those violations to be complied, and we'll be presenting one witness today, Inspector Brown.
Okay. All right, please proceed.
Okay, Inspector Brown, can you unmute yourself? And can you state your employer and how long you've been employed there?
Inspector Brown, City of Philadelphia, license and inspection, and I've been an inspector for 6 years.
Okay. Are you familiar with the property at 5301 Haverford Avenue?
I am.
How are you familiar with that property?
Well, I don't remember the exact date. It's probably.
Let's strike that. Did you inspect this property?
Yeah, on a complaint from this fire department, I came out and did an inspection.
Okay. And have you also had the opportunity to review any department records associated with this property?
As far as zoning?
Just, yeah, anything in Eclipse that you saw?
Yes.
Okay. Board, with permission, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One moment. Inspector Brown, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize the property, the picture of the property marked as Government Exhibit 1?
Yes, that's 5301 Haverford Avenue.
Okay. And just describe for the board, when you showed up at the property, what were the concerns that brought you there? What were you looking for?
Well, there was an issue with a fire that had happened the prior day or something. And the fire department sent a request to do an inspection because it was a rooming house and there was a lot of people in the property with the fire alarm system just blinking and it was out of service. When I got there, there was a gentleman working on the system. That's how I actually got in. Okay. And I took a few pictures.
So you were able to get into the property?
Yes. His contractor was there working on the alarm system.
I'm going to move to City Exhibit 2. Is this the alarm system you were referencing?
Yes, that's actually his contractor's hand on top of it.
Okay. And when you were there, was the fire alarm in operation?
It was not.
Okay. But so you observed someone was working on it.
Yes, the gentleman that was there. Yep.
Okay.
He's working on it.
And date of that photo, that's April 11th, 2022.
It's about right. Yep.
Moving on to City Exhibit 3, what are we looking at in this photograph?
Look like a pull station that's been pulled.
Okay. And when you were there, the alarm was not going off, I presume.
No.
All right. As you moved up into the building, I know this picture is a little blurry, but what did you start to see when you were moving into the building?
I just noticed a lot of rooms, and there was numbers on all the doors. I'm counting from 1 through 10.
Okay. So we're going to move through City Exhibit 5. Is that what you're referring to? A numbered room?
Yeah. All the rooms had numbers on them up to 10.
So I think that one looks like 2A. Is that correct? It's real. I can
2A.
I can scroll in a little bit. Is that better?
Okay. 2A. Yeah. So it says.
Okay. Moving on to City Exhibit 6. And zooming in, what's it say in the center there?
Another 2C or something?
2C. Scrolling down to 7, what's the?
Just 3A.
3A. And 8, it's a little blurry, but what does that say?
3B.
3B. City Exhibit 9, in the center there, what does that say?
3C.
Okay. And I think that's a total of 5 pictures of 5 rooms, but you counted 10 total rooms.
It was 10 total, yes.
Okay. All numbered and or lettered.
Right.
Okay. Were you able to talk to any occupants in the building?
There was a young lady that was on the 3rd floor, and I was told that no one was in there, but there was a young lady on the 3rd floor. And she said she was renting from like an Airbnb type of thing. Okay. And I said there shouldn't be anybody in the building, but she didn't leave.
Okay, I understand. Moving on to City Exhibit 9. Do you remember this room?
Not particularly, but that's probably one of the rooms, yeah.
You don't remember which room, but this was a room in the building. Is that correct?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to City Exhibit 10. Were you able to explore other areas of the building?
I didn't go into any rooms. I didn't turn any knobs or anything. I just took pictures and this is actually where the fire had happened on the 1st floor.
This is on the 1st floor?
Yeah, so I took a picture where the fire was.
Okay. Moving on to City Exhibit 11. This is, I believe it looks like moving into the basement. Were you able to explore the basement?
Yes.
Okay. And gonna move to City Exhibit 12. Is this that area?
That was the basement area. There was a lot of combustible storage down here.
And were there well, let me just keep scrolling. How about City Exhibit 13? Can you describe what we're looking at here?
Just a bunch of junk in a way. Yeah.
Okay. City Exhibit 14, same?
Same, yes.
City Exhibit 15, same?
That's the same, but there's a issue with the open junction boxes on that picture.
Okay, I think I'm gonna get a little closer to 16 for that. Is that what you're referring to? There are open junction boxes?
Yeah, that's supposed to be a electrical meter there. And it looks like they were getting electricity illegally.
Okay. City Exhibit 17. What
open junction boxes.
Okay. All right. Now we talked about strike that. What is this building? You observed 10 occupant rooms, correct? What is this building actually zoned for use for? Single
family, which is only allows 3 unrelated people in there, or single family as large as you can fit.
Okay. I'm going to show you City Exhibit 18. Is this the use permit associated with the property?
That's the current zoning.
Sorry. There we go. Can you see that now? City Exhibit 19.
Yes.
What's the date on that, Ms. Curley?
Let me scroll down. Inspector Brown, do you see the date on this document?
Oh,
yes, it's September 9th of 2016.
And that is the most current use permit on the department's
that is the most current, yes.
Okay. And what's the identified use on this permit?
Just a single family.
Okay. And to have 10 rooms in, to have 10 rooms in a property, would you need an updated use permit?
If you're not using it as a single family, yes.
Okay. I'm going to scroll down. Now, the individual you spoke with, that person indicated that they were renting the property. Was there any rental? Was there any rental license associated with this property?
There was none, no.
Okay. Looking at this rental license, what is? Well, strike that. What is City Exhibit 20 that we're looking at?
That is an expired rental license.
Okay. And what's the expert? And this is for the property at 5301 Haverford?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the date of expiration on this for this license?
That expired in February of 01.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, corrections. That's 21, I believe.
I'm sorry, you're right. Exactly right. 21.
Okay.
21. Thank you. Thank you, board. Moving down. Now, after you had inspected, what did the department do?
We issued a notice of correction.
Okay. Is that
Notice
what
of
we're
violation.
Are
Yes.
we looking at that in City Exhibit 21?
Yes.
And what's the date of that notice?
That was on April the 13th of 2022.
Does this notice contain all the violations we've talked about? The inoperable alarm system, the zoning issue, the rental license, all of the issues that we've identified?
That's the original, yes.
Okay. And following the notice of violation, is a re-inspection done at the property?
I believe Mr. Bentley asked me to come back out and do an inspection on the property before the inspection was due.
Okay. Were you able to do that?
Yes, I met with him and I did comply what I could, but he didn't prove the other issues, so I kept the violations open.
And is the result of that inspection that's reflected in the final violation notice?
Exactly.
Okay. And is that what we're looking at in City Exhibit 22?
Yes.
Okay. And the date of that notice, that's May 17th, 2022?
Yes.
Does that violation notice contain, it now contains, I believe, 4 violations that I see. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Curley, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure you identified.
Yep. And can you explain for the board what the 4 violations that are still outstanding are?
Well, it was still being used as a rooming house. He had removed the numbers and stickers off the doors, but it still, to me, it was a rooming house because they all had locks on the doors. He needed a license to operate a rooming house. And I had ceased it for the 10-unit rooming house, and he still continued to rent.
And how did you know that? Why did you believe that? I think you indicated the locks on the doors. Was there anything else additional?
Well, there were people there that said every time I went there, somebody was there to answer the door, and they wouldn't let me in and they wouldn't answer questions. And I asked them, were they renting, or they said it was like an Airbnb thing.
Got it. Okay. And the last violation on the next page, that's for the, can you just explain that fire code violation?
Well, at the time that I did get in, they still hadn't had the extinguishers tested and tagged. So if he couldn't prove that they were, I kept the violation open.
Okay. And since that time, none of these violations have been complied to your knowledge by you or
Not-
any other inspector?
Not to my knowledge, no.
City Exhibit 23. Are you familiar with a site violation notice? I realize this
I
is-
am.
Okay, and what is the violation cited in here?
Someone sent him a ticket for renting without a rental license in a single family.
That's consistent with your investigation as well, correct?
Well, I asked for a rooming house license, more than one family, because that's where he was using it. The inspector that wrote this ticket probably didn't get in to see what was going on. He just knew it was a rental property and it was zoned for a single family. And that's why he sent a single family ticket for rental.
Okay. I believe for just one moment. And Inspector Brown, when's the last time you were able to inspect this property?
Interior?
Either interior or exterior.
I couldn't tell you. It was prior to September of 22 because I moved to the North District in September. So it was before that.
Okay. And just to confirm, as reflected in the department's records, those violations are still outstanding.
If he didn't prove otherwise, yes.
Okay. And just to sum up, can you explain to the board, what are the safety concerns that the department is worried about with these kinds of violations, this outstanding zoning violation, this outstanding licensing issue with the rental license or boarding house licensing? Can you explain to the board what the concerns are with those violations?
Well, well, first of all, you don't have use permit, then you can't use it as any way you want to. Yeah, if it's zoned as single family, you have to use it as a single family, or obtain current use zoning.
Are there? Let me ask you if the difference between the requirements for a single family and for a boarding house, are there different requirements for, let's say, the fire code or the things you would need to provide in the difference between something that is approved for a single family and something that is approved as a boarding house?
Right, you would have to have certain fire safety mechanisms in effect to use it as a boarding house or multi-family use.
Okay.
And licensing also.
Okay, board, I don't have anything further. I just asked for the admission of city exhibits 1 through 23.
Okay, so noted, admitted. Mr. Leon, do you have any cross-examination?
Yes, I do, board chair, if I may.
Okay, yes.
Okay, Mr. Brown, I just wanted to get some further details on some of this stuff that you mentioned. Okay, so you said that there was either inoperable fire extinguishers or they were tagged incorrectly. Can you go into detail what the violation entails exactly? Just so I know.
Any fire extinguishers supposed to be inspected and tagged annually.
Okay, and which ones?
Licensed contractor.
My apologies. Anything else? Okay, so these fire extinguishers, I presume then you saw some that were not tagged or correctly tagged, correct?
I don't know if they weren't, I know they weren't tagged if I wrote the violation. And some of them could have been in red instead of the green. I can't really recall. But if I wrote the violation, it was definitely an infraction on the extinguishers.
Okay, and do you recall how many, where they were at? Anything of that sort?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you say they were being worked on when you were there the first or second time?
I said there was a gentleman there working on the alarm system.
But that's not part of the fire extinguisher issue.
No.
Okay. And as far as you know, the fire extinguishers could have been updated since you've last been on the property.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I hope so.
Fair. Okay, so you identified the property as a 10-unit boarding house. Can you go into, again, why you believe that to be the case?
Because there was 10 rooms and they all had locks on the doors. And that was it. It was a room in a boarding house.
Fair.
Airbnb had rooms, I guess.
Fair. And would you agree that although all 10 rooms might have been identified, if all 10 rooms aren't being used for that purpose, would it still be a 10-room, would it be a 10-room boarding house at that point, if not all 10 rooms are being used for that purpose?
Well, I was to assume that that's what it was used for because of the lettering and the numbers on the door.
Understandable.
I mean, if you don't know the property and you say, go to room blah, 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 and then they'll know exactly where to go. You know?
And is it currently being used as a 10-room boarding house if not all 10 rooms are being rented out?
I haven't been there since before September of 22, so I wouldn't know what it's being used for now. All I do know is this zone is a single family.
How many people did you meet at the property that you believe to be renting there?
That day?
In total, that you can start with that day. That's fine.
That day it was just a young lady on the 3rd floor.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Another time, a few times I came, there was different people that answered the door, and they were there temporarily renting the place, and they didn't allow entry. So I couldn't tell you how many people was in there.
But if it was less than 3, could it have been being used as a single family home at that point?
Only if he could approve it.
How would they prove that to you?
By opening 7 doors and there would be no one in there.
Okay. Did you request that they do that?
The tenants would not allow me entry.
Okay. So you haven't, although they haven't proven it to you, you also haven't visibly confirmed that there's more than 3 people living there at any given time.
No one can unless you get in. No.
Fair. Okay. And you said they were operating on a cease order, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware that they have ceased operations there since?
I'm sorry?
Are you aware that the property as of yesterday has been vacant?
Oh, I know it hasn't been vacant.
As of yesterday, though.
Oh.
I mean, I'm going to object. This is now beyond the scope of his testimony. He has admitted he hasn't been there since yesterday.
Yeah, the record is pretty clear. The objection is sustained. Anything else, Mr. Leon?
Yeah, let me just go through my notes 1 second, Mr. Board Chair. Let's see. And you did say, and maybe this is going to get objected to, you did say you don't know if it's operating currently, Mr. Brown.
I'm going to object again, same basis.
Same question. Mr. Leon, you'll have, of course, when you put on your case, you can raise all those issues if you like.
Let's see. I believe I asked all my questions. No more further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I do have a. Okay. No, Christian, I want you. Okay, thank you. I do have a few questions. Any board members have any questions of Mr. Brown?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Inspector Brown, you mentioned that you spoke to 3 different tenants, and I know none of them let you in, but they all had the same response that they were renting from an Airbnb?
Right, that type of, yes.
Okay. And also when Mr. Bentley, the owner, called for reinspection, were you able for anyone from the department, if you know, was able to accommodate?
You mean after I came out with and
Yeah,
met with him?
Yeah, you mentioned that he called you, and he asked for a reinspection.
Right.
Were the department able to accommodate that, or you personally as an inspector?
I went out there and met him, yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
Okay. Mr. Brown, were you able to determine if there was more than one cooking facility, one kitchen, operable kitchen in the building?
I don't think there was a kitchen in there. I don't remember seeing a kitchen, but
Okay.
it's been a while since I've been there. So
Okay. Do you recall if any of the units that you visited, did they have the separate bathrooms and/or kitchens?
no, all the baths was in the hall.
Okay. Third question. Did you administer the cease operations? Did someone else do that?
I did put a poster up.
Oh, you posted it? You did post it?
I did, yes.
And you distributed literature to everyone who was, every unit? You put a copy of the notice under the door and that sort of thing?
I left notices, yes.
You never, okay. Do you recall the date of the cease operations?
I would have to look that up, but I don't recall right off.
Okay, but it was posted, okay. All right. Thank you. Did you check to determine if this property had a short stay rental license that's now required by code?
No, it didn't have it.
Okay.
But it
And that
wouldn't be able to get one without zoning for the property.
Okay. I just wanted just checking to see if that was a noted license. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Mr. Leon, you may call your witness.
Yes, I'd like to call Mr. Kenneth Bentley.
Okay.
Yes.
Please proceed.
Mr. Kenneth Bentley, please identify yourself and explain your relation to the property.
An occupant and owner.
Okay, Mr. Bentley. So go into this a little bit with me here. What is your understanding of how you're using the property?
Well, I use it to live in, and every once in a while, I'll rent it out on Airbnb if I'm not currently there, or I have extra space. But I use it no more than 90 days because it says in the law that you can do 90 days or less without obtaining a rental license.
Right. And let me see. And you heard mentioned of a short stay rental license earlier?
Yes, I heard them mention that. But at the time I was doing it, that wasn't in effect. This is a new law that just became in effect.
Let's see. So at the time you were running this, are you saying that the short stay rental license wasn't required?
It wasn't required, especially for if you're not renting longer than 90 days.
I mean, I'm going to object at this point because he's giving legal conclusions. So unless there's some basis as to why he knows that,
Okay. Mr. Leon, are you prepared to submit in evidence copies of the code?
You want me to submit the copies that are of the code that are part of the violations or the exceptions?
No. You've asked a question. There's been an objection. What I'm asking you is that do you have any basis for the questioning? For instance, do you have a copy of the code to present to substantiate your position in the date that it was enacted, etc.?
I can get it. It's more so my client's position.
Now, Mr. Leon, you're an attorney. You understand how this works.
Right.
You're gonna get it. It's not gonna work. The hearing is right now, and so if you don't have it as part of your presentation, then it's not something we're going to entertain.
It's part of the testimony. That's the evidence that we're presenting right now.
Okay, so he can't come to a legal conclusion. He can say he didn't believe he was required to have it. Okay, okay, Ms. Curley. Okay, all right, let's proceed. Please proceed.
All right, if I may, I thought he was just testifying to his belief and not necessarily a legal conclusion. I mean, maybe it was both though. So I mean, obviously it's illegal. I mean, we're not gonna,
okay,
agree that he has any legal expertise on that. Okay, so Mr. Bentley, you were issued a cease order, I believe in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and did you cease operations since you received that cease order?
I still live there, so I don't know. It wasn't, he said I couldn't run multi-unit boarding house, and I never was running a boarding house. So it was never any boarding house operations to cease.
Great, maybe, yeah, that's a fair. I was gonna ask you, and maybe I should still. So the operations that he's alleging, you couldn't cease them, is what your position is?
Yes.
Okay. And that's because you're not operating it as a boarding house?
Exactly.
Okay. And was it your intention to use the property as a single family home in compliance?
Yeah, in compliance, yes, because I lived there and I wanted to use the other rooms. Like I said, I was just experimenting with short-term rentals and what I believe to be in compliance.
And you heard Mr. Brown's testimony that a single family home is 3 unrelated persons?
Yes.
And have you been using it as such within 3 unrelated people staying there?
Yes, it was no time where he ever there where it was more than when every room that he's saying was occupied. No time. From the time when it was fire to the time he met me out there to random times when he popped up. It was never more. All the rooms were never occupied unless I'm there with my entire family. That's the only time.
And although there's 10 doors that are numbered or named or lettered, you're not using all 10 of those rooms?
No, when he said something about that, when he said they had to be removed, it had to be removed. And there was a reason why they were there prior. They were there prior to that.
So you're not using this property as a boarding house?
No.
In regards to, I believe Mr. Brown said something along the lines of the fire extinguishers were not tagged properly. Have you made efforts to rectify the situation since?
Yes, yes. Even the fire alarm panel, even though as a single family, when he initially came out, he said I had to get all those things certified. So I called the proper people. I submitted certifications and stuff. But you know, I was under pressure when it was known as single family that I didn't have to really have those. It was an option. But you know, I wanted them because it's just better, it's safer.
Let's see. I think there was a question of how many kitchens there are on the property. Could you go into that?
It's one kitchen. It's one full kitchen.
In the whole building?
In the whole building.
Okay. Let's see here. And if you were required to and intended to do short stay rentals in the future, would you be willing to get the now required short-term rental license?
I'm going to object as to any speculation as to what he is willing to do. It's not relevant for today's proceedings.
So noted, overruled. I'm sorry, sustain. My apologies, sustain.
That's all I have, Your Honor, or Mr. Board.
Okay, board chair is fine.
Board chair.
Ms. Curley?
I have a question, Mr. Chair, when you get a chance.
Yes, I'm going to Ms. Curley to cross-examine, and then we'll open it up to the board.
Just very briefly. So, Mr. Bentley, is it correct you've never held any rental license of any kind, correct?
No, I've held rental license prior, like years prior.
In 2022, when this violation was issued, it's correct that you did not hold a rental license?
Yeah, I wasn't using it as a.
Okay, and you didn't hold any sort of short-term renter's license as well?
It wasn't required at that time. No.
It was your understanding that it was not required?
Yes, for the amount of days I was renting.
And you were collecting rent from the end of it, or you were collecting a fee, be it rent or for whatever, for the amount of time that people were staying in your property?
Yeah, for a couple nights here and there.
Okay. And did you hold a commercial activity license for that income?
At that time, no.
Okay. Was that income reported to the city as taxable income?
Well, yeah, it's reported, yes.
Okay, but you didn't have a commercial activity license for that business.
As I said, it wasn't required at that time.
So you're understanding that it was not required at that time.
Yes,
And it's correct that the building is currently zoned for single family use. Is that correct?
yes, that's what it's used for.
Did you attempt to have a multifamily use?
At one point when I first got it, probably like 2011, I tried to get it I got a use permit to get it rezoned as a studio, as a single family above a studio, production studio. And I was granted that permit use. But it was since then, you know, vacated because I ended up just staying there to live personally.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything further.
Okay, before we open, Mr. Bentley, would you just clarify what you just said? You said you were granted a use registration change that permitted you to have a studio plus residential?
Yeah, it was a residential above, because when I saw that in the history, it was a single family above a funeral home. But when I bought it, it was a single family.
Okay, but I'm asking you, did you apply to have a mixed use registration?
Yes,
was that granted?
Yes, it was granted, and I was granted, but I wasn't using it, and for that purpose, so I got it taken back down to single family.
Do you recall the dates that happened?
Yeah, 2011, it was permitted, it was granted for the mixed use. In 2016, it was rezoned as a single family.
Okay, all right. Any other board members have questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to get clarity here. Mr. Bentley, you said that your address is 5301 Haverford Avenue?
Yes.
What is 4249 Lindley?
That's a relative of mine. I don't even know how that address is.
That's on your forms.
Yeah, but I didn't put that on there, and I didn't even get that. I didn't. That's something Mr. Brown put in.
No, I'm looking at the day of notice of violations 5/17/2022, and that's what your address is listed as. And I don't see anywhere that Mr. Brown put that in.
That's not my address. I put my license as 5301, all my medical bills, everything is 5301 Haverford.
And so what's 6103 Reedland?
That's my mother's address.
So none of these addresses are yours. That's on all your forms.
Not reside there.
Pardon me?
No, I do not live there. I live at 5301.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any more questions.
Okay, Mr. Curry, yeah, Mr. Chen, you have something you want to ask?
Yeah, yes, I do. For the owner there, I have a question. You mentioned that you experimented with short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
And for what time period?
No, it was like springtime, April. It was a time. It was actually April, like between April to September.
Okay, I need the number of months or years.
It was April 1st to June.
April 1st to June. Okay. Did you read the policy for short-term rentals before you started to experiment with them?
Oh, I'm sorry. When you said, I'm sorry. It was a few months. I'm scrambled. Yeah, it was a few months. It was 2 months before April. So I'm counting months.
What's the total number of months?
February, March, April. It was February, March, and April. It was 3 months.
3 months. Okay. So my other question was, did you read the policy for short-term rentals before you experimented with it?
Yeah.
Okay. So for that 3-month period, did you keep the records that are required for short-term rentals that indicate the home remained your primary residence and that the dates of the home that you rented it out and to the number of renters? Did you provide that information to the city of Philadelphia?
It's automatically provided, but I can provide it. I thought maybe
How does the city know how many people you are renting to and for the time period? In the policy, it asks you, the owner, to keep record and provide that.
Okay. Well,
did you do that?
yeah, this was like, it said this was going to start in July at the time when I was reading that. And it said if it's 90 days or more. That's what I read in the policy. That's what I remember reading.
And for record keeping, it basically says that it gives you a length of time for each year, but you're supposed to keep that for each time that you rent. You said you experimented with it. So
it is
if you use the policy that explains that you need to keep and provide the city the number of renters and the dates the home was rented, and that the home would remain their primary residence, meaning you. Did you provide those documents to the city of Philadelphia?
When I was researching it, there was no documents available that said anything about doing that. Even when I went there,
did you keep record of those documents?
It's a digital record. So anytime somebody books on a platform, it's there. So I can't erase it. It's submitted.
When they book on a platform, you're saying?
Yeah, I listed it on Airbnb, and people will book here and there and stay for like 2 days. I didn't allow them to stay more than a few days.
You have this primary residence listed as an Airbnb as required by the city of Philadelphia?
Yeah, they removed it now because they said now you have to get zoning. So at first you didn't, but now they removed my listing. So that's why I said I'm not doing anything right now because they've removed it.
No, this took place in 2022, correct?
Yeah, but this was this was after all this stuff. This was new. Like,
well,
the city
policy went into effect in 2022.
Yeah, the city was still. I've been down at LNI asking them over and over for things. They couldn't direct me in a certain situation. It couldn't direct me even to get a short-term rental license. It seems like they're not like really assigning them. So even once Airbnb came out, they came out with a policy. They said that now that you have to get an operating license. So they removed a bunch of listings, and my listing was one of them. But now I'm dealing with this, so I'm trying to, get resolved this before I even can, if I decide to even continue to pursue that path.
Airbnb did list the Airbnb owners to provide certain information to the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Curley, I do have a couple of questions for Mr. Bentley. Would you mind sharing your screen again, please? I'd like to see the violation notices and also the appeal notice if you have it.
Sorry, just 1 minute. Having some technical difficulties. Board, so this is the violation notice.
Okay, alrighty. And I just want to check on the address. What's the date? That is dated April
13th, 2022.
Okay.
And the corresponding appeal for that, sorry to scroll.
Okay.
And then so this one is for number 2 on the list. And then as you recall, there was a site violation notice.
Yes.
And that is City Exhibit 23.
Okay. And so that's the Leidy Avenue issue.
Dated 9/26/2022.
Okay.
And Mr. Bentley appealed that in City Exhibit 27.
And what address did he use?
He provides 5301 Haverford.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
The other question I have for Mr. Bentley, when was the property posted? These operations posted?
Well, from what Mr. Brown told me, he said it was a ceased boarding house.
You aren't answering my question. I'm asking you, when was it posted? When did they put the posting on the door and leave you literature?
I never was left any literature.
There was no literature ever left for you?
No. The Inspector Brown called me and told me these things.
Did he ever post anything on the building?
I didn't see anything, no.
There was nothing stapled to the door. There was no public notice attached to your building at all?
I didn't get any literature.
Nothing that did your residents, the individuals who were there, did they receive any written notice?
No. That's why I was confused when he said he talked to the tenants, because it's no tenants, it's just me. You know, it's me, family, was a couple guests.
Okay. Now, is it your plan to continue to use this property as a single family residence?
Yeah.
Okay. Curious, have you now had installed and upgraded a multi-pull station fire system, fire alarm system?
That was always there. That's just something I just got the certification for. It was there prior to me having it.
Okay, but you since had it certified, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and have you gone back and had all the fire extinguishers installed properly and inspected?
Yeah, they were installed. They were installed properly, and it was on like a waiting list to be inspected. I don't know why it's like a long waiting list.
And you plan to use this only as a single family home going forward?
As of now, yes, but if I decide, I've been speaking, if I decided to go forward, I would apply for the proper, permits and stuff like that, since it has that eligibility. Like if I wanted to for something else.
Okay, how long have you owned the property?
Since 2010.
Okay, and how many people in your family who live there?
It's like 7. There's a big house.
Well, I'm asking you, and your personal nuclear family, how many people are residing in the property?
Oh, 7.
And those individuals are all related to you by blood?
Yeah, and I have, yes. I have 6 children.
You have 6 children? You have 6 children?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just asking for the record. Okay, so there's 7 people and they're all your children. Okay, all right. Anything else from anyone?
Just very briefly.
Yes.
For the 7 people, are they all adults, Mr. Bentley?
No, they're children.
They're all under the age of 18.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so so it's you and 6 children under the age of 18.
Me, my wife, and 6 children.
And your wife. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Curley, what was the dates of these? I just want to clarify the date range of the violations. When were they?
The initial violation was written on April 13th, 2022. Yeah, 2022. And the site violation notice was written on September 26th, 2022.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. If there aren't any additional questions from anyone, we ask for any closing argument. Mr. Leon, if you have a closing argument, please share with us. After that, Mr. Curley. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead. In regards to the violation, saying the condition of the violation, this is violation A 301.1/65, saying the property is not zoned for a 10-unit boarding house or rooming house. I don't think the city's met its burden that's actually being used as that. I mean, true, it's not zoned for that, but that was never my client's intention, and that's never how he's used it. So I don't think they met their burden on that. Since he's no longer using the property for any commercial purposes, I don't think 93902 should apply, or it's moot that he needs to obtain a rental license. Of course, it's the city's decision, but if he was using it for short-term and a rental license for short-term wasn't required at that time, then obviously he shouldn't be in violation of not having any license in that regard. As far as A 505.1/1, he was issued a stop order on the basis that he was using it as a rooming house, and as he testified to, and the city hasn't proven otherwise, he was not using it as a 10-unit rooming house, so he shouldn't have had that stop order issued on him, and he shouldn't have the fine obviously issued on him as well on that same basis. In regards to the fire extinguisher issue, I don't believe any evidence or photographs of the improperly tagged or out of date Fire extinguishers were submitted to evidence. I mean, there was testimony, but upon cross-examination, he couldn't testify as to what or where they were at, just that he probably saw them if he wrote it down. And it's used as a residential property, so I don't really know if there is a requirement for what they're saying here, given it's an RSA 5, and there's not really a mention of the RSA 5 in this violation. Either way, he has testified, my client has testified to updating the extinguishers since then. So I don't believe that violation should stay as well. I would ask that they all be dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Curley?
First off, board, thank you for listening today. There's some confusion, I think, from appellant about who has the burden today. It's actually appellant who has the burden, ultimate burden of persuasion to establish that these violations didn't exist. The testimony was very clear that as of the last time the department was requested to inspect this property, there were 4 outstanding violations, all of them kind of centering around how this property was being used. By the appellant's own testimony today, he did have renters, essentially Airbnb guests, who were paying him rent to reside in that property. And the requirements of a boarding house are vastly different than a single family use, which it was not zoned for. There were multiple rooms in that property, at least 10 that the inspector saw and cited, and multiple tenants he was able to talk to who asserted that they were renting. I think it's pretty clear what this building was being used for. I think that the inspector's testimony should be given, weight as to what he saw in this building and his years of experience as to how the building was being used. The use permit itself speaks for itself, which Mr. Bentley, he filled that out and submitted that he was going to use it as a single family home, and that's not how he was using it. So if you're going to be, renting out multiple rooms in a property, especially as we can see a property where a fire happened, then I think that the 4 violations cited by the department should be affirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd invite, before we take the vote, I'm going to invite the board to join me in the breakout room for a short discussion. It is now 3:01. We will return at 3:10. Thank you. If you could join me in the breakout room. Thank you. The 2 cases that are at 5301 Hereford Avenue. All questions being answered and the record being set by both the appellant and the city in response, we will call the vote on HA-2022-001-825 5301 Hereford Avenue, Kenneth Bentley, appeal sustained. I'm sorry, correct that vote. City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Thank you very much. Appeal number HA-2022-004-162 5301 Hereford Avenue, Kenneth Bentley, city affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Thank you very much. Sir, you've lost your appeal. However, Mr. Leon, as you know, you may appeal out any decision of this board to the Court of Common Pleas if that's your choice. Thank you very much for your participation. You may be excused.
That brings us to case number 7. Hearing appeal number HA-2022-002465, 1497 North 53rd Street, Andre Clark.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clark, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, Michelle Reinhardt for City of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Ms. Reinhardt. Do you have a witness, Ms. Reinhardt?
Yes, Inspector Gerardo Gonzalez is the witness.
Okay, all righty. Before I proceed, I believe Mr. Clark has been sworn, but Mr. Clark, what I'd like to do, given that we've now read the record and read the address into the record, let's do this again. So we'd have you raise your right hand as well as the inspector. Mr. Gonzalez, do you swear affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Reinhardt?
Thank you. I would first of all just like to renew the city's timeliness objection and just make that a standing objection that the notice of violation was initially sent on April 14th, 2022, and the appeal was not filed until June 3rd, 2022.
Okay.
With
you.
that, oh, I apologize.
Yeah, I just want to respond. That will be noted in the record. The exception was granted in this instance because of the assertion by the appellant that in fact he was suffering from COVID. And given that we just come through a tremendous pandemic, COVID pandemic, we decision of the board to grant an exception. Let's proceed.
I would like to call Inspector Gerardo Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, Inspector Gonzalez, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Gerardo Gonzalez, Department of Licenses and Inspections.
And how long have you held that position?
26 years.
And what do you do as part of your duties?
I do code enforcement. I do fire inspections. I do housing inspections. Right now, I'm with the vacant property unit, and that's what I'm doing now.
Are you familiar with 1497 North 53rd Street?
Yes.
Have you reviewed all of the records regarding the case for this property?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to share my screen with what has been previously marked City Exhibit A. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
I'm showing notice of violation and order correct dated April 14th, 2022, sent to this address. Can you tell me what this notice of violation is for?
For the notice and order to correct.
And what violations were involved?
The one was for vacant property, which of course is to keep the area clean. The other one is for the handrail, missing handrail on the front steps. The vacant property is for the structure to be safe and sound. And the other one was for the vacant license.
Okay. I believe you were the one who initially wrote this initial notice of violation?
Yes.
Indicating that you were the one who performed the initial inspection as well?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, this was sent to, can you tell us what address this was sent to?
It was sent to
Go ahead.
618 North Mall Street in Philadelphia to Andre Clark.
Okay. Moving on to Exhibit B. I'm showing you the final notice of violation dated May 25th, 2022. What was the status of the time?
I think the only thing that was left was just the vacant license. He did take care of the handrail.
Okay. And it was your determination after going to the property that the property is still vacant?
Yes.
Okay. I am scrolling down to what has been previously marked City Exhibit C. This is a water bill. Can you tell us what you found from this?
From when we noticed that when we contacted the water department, they stated there is no water use at the property.
And specifically looking at the graph, approximately in the middle of the page, it shows that there is zero usage for each month in the last year, except for in October, where there was, what, 1 unit of usage? Is that fair?
Yes.
Overall, do you have an opinion, or rather, what does that indicate to you as a vacant property inspector based on your experience and knowledge?
Well, it shows that nobody's actually staying at the property. There is no water usage. So, I mean, you're supposed to have the water usage at the property if you're staying there.
Okay. Moving on to what has been marked City Exhibit D. I'm going to resize that. This is a photograph that on the side is dated May 24th, 2022. Can you tell us what we're looking at?
This is the property. This is after he had put the handrail in. The property was still vacant.
And did you take this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the second photograph, and I am zooming out. Is this a fair and accurate representation of the property as well?
Yes.
Okay. I'm scrolling down to the third photograph. It is dated April 19th, 2023. Can you tell us what this shows?
This shows the property still the same. I did knock on the door. There was no answer. The property is still vacant.
Fair to say you took this photograph as well?
Yes.
So overall, your testimony is that you've gone to the property numerous times. Have you ever seen someone at this property?
No, the only person I've ever seen is the neighbor. Kept coming out. She claims there's nobody ever there, but she was also had an issue with the water on the ground, but that was out on the sidewalk.
Okay. Did you speak to this neighbor once or multiple times?
Multiple times. I think the first inspection and the second inspection.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clark, do you have any questions of the Inspector Gonzalez?
No questions. No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms. Reinhardt, do you have any additional witnesses?
No additional witnesses.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clark, tell us your understanding of what's going on.
Okay. My neighbor and I, we didn't see eye to eye on some things, and this is what got the ball, rolling with this. I am in and out of the place. I don't use the water like that because the only thing I would use is just to flush the toilet. I don't live there. You say it's vacant, but I'm in and out of there. I have all utilities. I have heat, everything. I do go there once, twice a week. If I don't use the water outside of flushing the toilet, there's probably not going to see too much of a water usage. I did what he had on the paperwork as far as violations, but I disagree with it being vacant because I do go to the house. So I don't know why that was on the list of violations.
Well, tell me, sir, how do you define vacant?
Vacant is if someone walks away from the property and don't keep the house up and, let it, just break down, fall down, or, busted windows, things of that nature, which becomes a hazard.
I think the word for that is abandoned, not vacant.
Okay.
Do you have any evidence that you are in fact paying for heat and electric at the property?
Yes. I had bills.
Did you submit those as evidence?
No, I didn't know I had to.
Well, I mean, you had to prove your case. I mean, you submitted the appeal, so you have to come prepared to prove your case.
I do. I have, bills right here.
But that doesn't help us. We can't see them. You have to submit them early so we can get them on the record and that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I am under oath, and I do have electric, water, and gas in the building. I didn't know the procedure that is required of me. I did the code violations, and he saw that and so on. So I thought that everything was okay.
Okay. Ms. Reinhardt, do you have any questions of the appellant?
No questions.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions of Mr. Clark?
I have one quick question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Clark, on your appeal, your address is 618 North Moss Street. How are you connected to that address?
I live at 618 Moss Street.
Okay. So, and you did testify that you do not live at 1497 North 53rd Street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And when you go to the property, do you spend multiple nights in a row at the property?
No, I do have a bed in there. Well, actually 2 beds in there. At one point, when my friend would come out from out of town or something like that, we may stay over there. And it is 2 beds in the house, in that house. However, I don't stay there like on a regular basis. There's no reason for me to stay there. However, I do visit that property on a regular basis. I just don't use water usage because the only thing I would do is flush a toilet. I don't.
So you don't eat meals there. You don't bathe there. You don't.
No.
You don't. Okay. You reside somewhere else.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Clark, 619 North Moss Street. You said you live there or that's your property?
I live at 618 Moss Street.
Okay, my correction. Yes. Okay. Do you own that property?
Yes, 618. Yes.
Then the records indicate another owner with the last name of Young.
No, that's not correct.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clark, I would ask, how long have you owned the 53rd Street property?
I'm not quite sure, but it's 2002, 2002, something like around that time frame.
Did you purchase it?
Yes.
And you don't recall what year you purchased the property?
No, I could show you. I have the deed. I know if you say put it into record or whatever, I didn't know what to anticipate to put into record if that's the case.
Okay. How long when did you move away from that property?
618 Mall Street.
No, 53rd Street. When did you move away?
I never lived there. I at one point in time rented the property back then. Even I let my cousin stay there, and it just seemed to have a problem with the neighbor. So I told her she had to leave. So anything I do with the current neighbor, it seemed to be a problem. I don't know why, but.
So this is an investment property for you?
Yes. I haven't put it on the market, the rent in a while, but basically if my family from out of town come or something like that, they would stay there. My cousin, she lived here in Philadelphia, but she was staying there for a while, and the city sent me a letter saying that I was renting it as a hotel or something like that. So I told her she had to leave because I tried to do everything that I was supposed to do, legally, whatever, license and everything. So because I wasn't renting it, I thought it was okay, but she and the neighbor had some issues, and I told her she had to leave.
Okay.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
For Inspector Gonzalez, how did you find out that the property was vacant? Because from the looks of it, it looks fine. No broken windows, nothing like that. How did you find out it was vacant?
I went out on a complaint. When I went there, the complaint stated that about the water out front, nobody living at the property. The only violation I could see was just the handrail and no license. I went through the back is small yard, not even anything, but I mean, I knocked every time I went out there. Nobody was ever answering the door. I mean, so I sent out the violation. Nobody ever contacted me, but the neighbor claims that there's nobody living at the property.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you,
Chair.
All righty. If there are no further questions, I will ask any final comments, Mr. Clark, that help us make a decision in this matter.
Okay. I like I said before, I don't live there. However, my neighbor and I, we just don't see eye to eye on things. I give her utmost respect in what she say, but sometimes you just get one of those kind of neighbors. The house is upkept, it's kept clean. I'm there more than my share of times being there. I even talk to my neighbor, but she's just she's not the best neighbor, I could say. But I do take care of my property, and it's not in like disarray or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Reinhardt, any closing?
Briefly, yes. I would just like to highlight, as you've already heard Mr. Clark's admission that he lives somewhere else. He is not at the property frequently enough to establish any kind of water accumulation as indicated on the water bill, and no one is living at the property. At one point in time, it was a rental property, but it's no longer used in that way. And so I submit that it meets the requirements of a vacant property, even though it does not sound like it has been abandoned. Just making that full distinction for Mr. Clark.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we will call the vote on HA-2022-002-4485, 1497 North 53rd Street, Andrea Clark, City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Peel abstain.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clark, the vote is 3, City affirmed, 1, appeal sustained. That means you've lost your appeal. You may appeal our decision. You can check in with the office if you need information as to how to do that. But that's the final decision. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Sir?
Yes.
Can I ask, so with this decision, will a bill come to my house since I lost the decision, will that come to my house so I could pay it?
You should check in with the office and they will give you information. There will be a decision letter that comes to you. It should include, has the phone number on it. But you should be prepared to take out the vacant property license and respond to any fines that are noted on the letter.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too.
That brings us to case number 8. Case number 8, hearing appeal number HA 2022-002499, 4219 West Girard Avenue, United Inspection Agency.
Okay.
This is Christopher Johnson for the City of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon. And who's representing the appellant?
David Jaquette for the appellant.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jaquette. Is the
afternoon.
appellant present?
Yes, there's a few. We have James Dollard and I believe the owner of the company, Joseph Halferty, is also on.
Okay, will they both be testifying or not? Or
I don't think I'll have. Yeah, Jim Dollard will be the one testifying.
Okay. Okay. Who will be the city's witness?
Your Honor, the city's witness in this case is Inspector Robert Parisi, and he's currently on. He's on mute right now.
Okay. Mr. Parisi could do 2 things: take his hat off and unmute himself. Thank you. Mr. Parisi, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Jaquette, your witness is, I'm not sure if I see their faces.
Jim Dollard, yeah, I don't. There's Jim on now.
Okay.
The Temple sweatshirt on.
Okay, Mr. Dollar, if you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much, sir. Place your hand down. Okay, Mr. Johnson, please proceed.
Mr. Parisi, can you please explain to the board where you're employed?
Currently employed with the city of Philadelphia for a little over 11 years now.
And what does your position with the city entail?
Electrical inspector.
And are you aware of the property at 4219 West Girard Avenue?
I'm somewhat familiar. It's been a year.
Did you do an inspection at that property?
I did.
And if I may, regarding that inspection, what is your role in that inspection?
I was there to do an audit of the electrical work that was done at that location based on the plans that were submitted and approved by the city of Philadelphia.
And this was, just to be clear, this was an work that was done under an issued electrical permit by the city?
That's correct.
And what was the permit number?
Permit number was EP 2022-000489.
And regarding the permit, if I may, who is United Inspection Agency under that permit?
They are the named inspection agency for this particular project.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Okay. What would their role be as the inspector on the project?
Their role would go in to do a rough wire inspection, and then when the job was complete, they would go in to do a final inspection.
So what are they basing their inspection on?
They should be basing it on a set of plans that the engineer designed and the city approved.
If it pleases the board, can I share my screen?
Yes.
At this time, hold on. All right. Mr. Parisi, can you see the document that I've shared?
I can. I have it up on my computer as well, so I can see it better.
Okay, I've marked this as City Exhibit C2. And can you identify what this document is?
This is the engineered drawings for this project, and these are the city. This is the city approved plans.
And we can see on the first page of the document, is there a stamp that's visible on the lower left-hand corner?
Yes, that's the approval by the city plan examiner.
And was this the approved plan under the permit that you'd referenced earlier in your testimony?
They were the approved plans, correct.
Okay. And so does this explain all the electrical work that would have been done under that permit?
Yes, as per the engineer's design and the city approval, correct.
So when you went out to do your inspection, what were you looking at?
Usually when I go out and do an inspection, my first thing that I look at is I go right for the service part.
And then what?
Then I would go through the property and you know, check for arc faults, check for proper location of receptacles, kitchen circuits, make sure there's the proper amount of kitchen circuits as per the code. I check for the grounding on the service. I check for location as the engineer drawings show. I look for equipment to be where the engineer shows it. And in this case, I found some issues that did not follow the engineer's design and the city approved plans.
And okay, I'm going to stop sharing Exhibit C2 and I'm going to share Exhibit C1 at this time. And do you recall what was the date that you did your inspection?
I believe it was May 9th, May 10th, somewhere in that vicinity.
And this is page 1 of City Exhibit C1. If you can read the first paragraph, does that help refresh your recollection about the date?
Yeah, I see that where it says on May 19th.
Of what year?
2022.
Okay. So what did you find when you did your inspection?
I found that the 5-gang meter bank was not.
Is it, Mr. Parisi, just for a moment. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah.
Normally you go through the report itself. Are you skipping that and going
I'm going to ask him about the pictures after he finishes.
Oh, okay. All right. Just trying to understand where you headed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Please proceed, Mr. Parisi. My apologies.
Okay. First thing I did is I walked in the basement. I asked for the set of city approved plans. I opened them up. I reviewed them quickly. I saw that the meter bank wasn't where it was supposed to be. I saw that the main grounding electrode conductor going to the cold water pipe was undersized. I noticed that the house panel was in the basement and not in the first floor hallway where the engineer shows it. I also noticed that the main panel for the first floor unit, the house panel, and the other sub panels up in the other units did not have a main circuit breaker in it, which was specified by the engineer.
And so those were ways in which the work that you saw at that time was not in conformance with the plans that were issued under the permit. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you about some pictures that I have marked as Exhibit C1 here at page 3. What is this photograph?
Yeah, that I have to tell you to disregard that. That was actually for another address. I picked that picture up by accident.
Okay. How about
this is
page 4?
Yeah, this is the cold water service where the main grounding electrode conductors connected to the incoming cold water pipe, and it's clearly the engineer spec'd out a 1/0 copper. That's clearly not a 1/0 copper.
And can you explain what you're talking about? 1/0 copper. What does that mean?
The conductor. See the black conductor. Oh, I can't get the black conductor that's running behind the sprinkler pipe down to the cold water pipe lower.
You're talking about a wire?
Yes.
And is it shown in this photograph?
Yep, there it is right there.
The
That's
one where I'm tracing right now?
Trace it down. That's it. Go by right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And what is that supposed to be?
That's supposed to be a 1/0 copper conductor as per the engineer's specifications.
And what is it instead?
You know, I don't recall what size it was, but it's not what it was supposed to be.
And where in the property is this?
It's in the basement.
I'm going to go to the next photograph.
Mm-hmm.
It's City Exhibit C1 at page 5. Can you tell me what this photograph shows?
The black conductor running alongside the meter bank. That's the main grounding electrode conductor that was running over to the cold water pipe.
Because is that more of the same line that you had taken in the prior photograph?
Yes, that's in the front, correct.
And how about this? This is page 6.
That's it coming up, running across and running down, and it goes over again to the front of the building, the front wall, and then down to the cold water pipe.
And how about page 7?
That is one of the feeder cables. I don't recall where it was going to, but it was not supported properly, and it was laying on top of a ductwork piece of metal, if you can see that piece of metal there.
And is that what the plans required?
No, the plans call for them to be properly supported as per the code.
So the code requirement is that this would be supported, not laying on top of another.
Not laying on top of that metal bar, correct.
Okay. How about C1 at page 8? What is this photograph?
I honestly don't remember. The flash didn't go off. I don't know. I don't know what that's representing.
All right. And as a result of your inspection, what did you conclude?
Repeat that.
As a result of your inspection, what did you conclude?
I concluded that from what I saw there, that the installation was not done in accordance with the sealed engineered city approved plans. And, with the grounding electrode conductor being undersized, that it was not a code compliant installation.
So is that a violation of the code for the inspector, which would be United Inspection Agency?
Yes.
And what would that be a violation of 9/13/05?
They said it was an inspector.
I believe so.
To your knowledge, had they performed inspections prior to your inspection?
I believe there was a rough wire inspection done prior to my coming out at the final.
Would that have been, so when you were there that May, was that supposed to be the final inspection on that permit?
Yes.
So that should have been done after they had done their inspection? How does that work normally?
Normally, the third-party agencies go out and do their final, and I get called to go out on an audit just to verify that everything was done correctly, and that's what I did in this instance.
And who did you notify after that?
Well, I sent the notification to my supervisor for approval, and he forwarded it to, I believe, the electrical contractor got a copy, and also United Inspection Agency got a copy.
Okay. I have no further questions for the inspector at this time. I'm going to ask that Exhibit C1 and C2 be admitted to the record.
So noted. Admitted. Mr. Jacquet, any cross-examination?
Yes, I do. Mr. Parisi, all those photos that we just looked at, those were taken on your inspection on May 19th, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware when the rough wire inspection was performed at this property by United Inspection?
I do not, because it's not recorded in our Eclipse system, so we don't know. And
Okay, if I told you that the rough inspection was performed on April 26th, just 3 weeks before you were out there, would you have anything to dispute that?
No.
And you just stated that you were out there at the time of that the final inspection was to be performed, correct? You just stated that?
Actually, when I was there, the final inspection was already completed.
Okay. Was there any documents provided by the city that said the final inspection was completed prior to that?
It's in our Eclipse system that shows that it was completed and finalized by United Inspection Agency.
I have the final date on this matter as October 18th, 2022, nearly 5 months later.
Mr. Jacquet, did you plan, is that part of your presentation to present those documents so that we can see that?
I don't. Oh,
if I may respond?
Sure.
Yes.
I am looking at our Eclipse system now. Perform inspection, United Inspection Agency passed May 10th, 2022. Passed. It was entered into our system October 20th, but it was passed on May 10th.
Did you have any conversations on May 19th with the contractor about their interactions with United in terms of these issues that you thought were with the property?
I don't recall because the contractor was not on site.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge as to discussions that United would have had with the contractor after the rough inspection regarding these issues that you put in the violation?
I would have no way of knowing.
Okay. Would you have any way of knowing that these issues were actually discussed with the contractor by United before you were out there, and then all of those issues were resolved before the final passing?
I would have no way of knowing that. Conversation took place between them.
Okay. Would you have any knowledge as to, prior to the final inspection being submitted to the city, whether all these issues were actually resolved according to what needed to be done by the code?
As I said, I was there May 19th, and it shows in our system that May 10th it was final. So that's all I can go by. I was there May 19th. It shows final in our system May 10th.
Okay. As to the actual violation, you fill out that violation form?
Yes, I did.
Okay. In looking at this, it looks to me like both violations are under code 9-1305.3, correct?
Oh, you're talking about that language? No, that was put in by my supervisor.
Okay. How about the description of the violation? Is that you or your supervisor?
The description of violation is mine, if I understand what you're referring to.
Sure, and I'll just read it for you. Mr. Johnson, would you mind putting back up?
No problem.
The C1. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's fine. Mr. Parisi, the description of the first violation says installation of electrical equipment not installed according to city approved drawings, correct?
That's my language, yeah, right there.
Okay. And then in the second violation under the same code, it states that the approval of non-compliant electrical work that does not comply with city approved drawings, correct?
Correct.
Are those not the same thing? Meaning, are these two violations when really it's an allegation of
it's one
violation?
Correct.
I'm sorry, we were talking over each other. Just so the record's clear, could you answer that again?
Yeah, it's one violation.
Okay, so there really shouldn't be two violations here.
Well, if you look at the violation numbers, they're the same number.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, because you were the one that filled this out.
So
My question
filled out the description of violation. The Philadelphia code language is put in automatically by the computer.
What I'm asking you is, as the inspector that's issuing these violations, you would agree with me that at bare minimum, there should only be one violation here on this form, correct?
Yeah, it's basically one violation, correct.
Okay. That's all I have to the board.
Thank you very much. Anything else for Mr. Parisi by?
I'm sorry, board chair. I'm sorry. Could I ask one more question? My apologies.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Parisi, in talking about the location of the panels, is there anything under the NEC code that states where those panels have to be?
Are we talking about the meter bank service disconnects or the house panel?
The house panel first.
No. However, the engineer, when he specs it and designs it, it must go where it's shown on the drawing, unless the contractor has a better place to put it and he wants to discuss it with the engineer and have the plans revised.
In typical practice, are there not site conditions that change those types of locations that are just performed by the contractor without going back to the engineer?
The deviation can be a little, I'll give you that. However, when it's in the basement and the engineer called it to be in the hallway up on the first floor, that's where it should have been. And I know the wall that it shown on is a brick wall. The opposite wall on the other side of the hallway is a drywall, sheetrock wall. He could have very well placed it inside that wall.
Is there any safety
That
issue with
deviation, I would say yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
that deviation? Is something that would typically happen between a contractor after an inspection?
After an inspection?
After a rough inspection? Or I'm sorry, to your
It
point,
may.
before an inspection, yeah.
It may.
Okay. Is there any safety issue with where the location was?
The tenants are supposed to have access to overcurrent protection. So with that house panel being down in the basement where the tenants had no access to, if the hallway lights, if somebody, whoever occupied that first floor and basement, if they were to go down in that basement and shut off the hallway lights or the exit or emergency lights, the tenants would have no way of turning them back on. So in that regard, it could be a safety issue.
Are you aware that after the rough inspection, United advised the contractor that the tenants did need access to the basement and a door was put in there?
I am not aware of that.
So as we sit here today, you're not aware that they all have access to the basement panels through a door to the basement?
No, unfortunately, when the violation is written and there's communication between the third party and the contractor, they're also supposed to include the city so that we know what's going on. And that conversation, I was never contacted by the inspector or the contractor to let me know what was or wasn't corrected.
In your Eclipse system there, if you could, for the board, inspection number 2022-000489-001, I'm looking at the completed date on here is October 21st, 2022.
Right.
So that's when the final inspection was completed, correct?
That's when it was entered into our system, correct.
Okay. And where are you getting that a final inspection was actually performed in May of 2022? I don't see that anywhere on your Eclipse system.
Well, it doesn't. It says scheduled start date.
Okay. So when you represented to the board before that the Eclipse said it was done on May 10th, the Eclipse system doesn't actually say that, correct?
No. However, there was a sticker on the gear on the meter bank that showed a date. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get a picture of that.
And that was the rough inspection that had been performed already, correct?
Rough inspection stickers go in the window, not on the main service equipment.
Okay, but you don't have a photo showing that
I do not.
sticker?
No, I do not.
So just for clarification for the board, the Eclipse system actually does show that the final inspection was completed October 21st, correct?
That's the date it was entered into our system, yes.
Okay, and that's 5 months after you posted these violations in between the rough inspection they did and the final inspection they did.
Again, final was done when before I was there.
But that's not what your system says.
Well, I don't make the entries, so I can't answer to that.
Was there any trigger for you to go out to this property? Any complaint or any call?
I believe I was called out by a building inspector, but again, it's been a year almost, and I don't recall.
And just for the board's sake, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. We all have the understanding that United Inspection doesn't actually perform any of this work. They don't put in the grounding electrode. They don't put in the panels. They're there to inspect it after it's put in, correct?
Correct.
And their job at the rough inspection is to go in, and if something's not properly done, tell the contractor they need to fix an issue, correct?
At the rough wire inspection.
And then they come back later for a final inspection, and if those things have been repaired or fixed, then they can give final approval, correct?
If it's done and corrected, yes.
Okay, and that's what they submitted in October of 2022 saying.
I don't have a record of that because no one called me to let me know that they were out there to repair these conditions.
Are they required to contact you to tell you they're repairing the conditions?
As per the city code, yes.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions, Mr. Johnson?
No redirect. I would call one other witness though.
Okay. Oh, before you do that, Mr. Johnson, let me know if you're going to cover this with your new witness, and I'll stand down. Sure. But when this violation is issued to a specialty permit, like in electrical or plumbing, does the contractor also get a copy of that permit? Are they also notified and also penalized?
Mr. Parisi?
Oh.
Does the contractor also get the violation when a
yes,
violation
he did.
like this comes
in this case, I believe he did, yes.
So that the electrical contractor's violation would be separate from the one we've just viewed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
The city is going to call Jose Figueredo.
Okay. Is he present?
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Figueredo, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. Place your hand down.
Mr. Figueredo, can you please tell us where you're employed?
At Audits and Investigations Unit.
And is that a part of L&I?
Yes, it is.
And what is your role with that unit?
I'm the manager with the Audits and Investigations Unit.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit about the process behind this violation. And I'm going to share, once again, Exhibit C1. So is this a notice of violation that went out to United Inspection Agency? Is this a notice that was sent out by the Audits and Investigations Unit?
Yes, it is.
And what is the process typically when one of these sorts of violations comes in regarding a special inspection, like an electrical inspector, a private electric inspector like United Inspection Agency? How does AIU become aware of it?
So there's a couple different ways. If it's a scheduled random audit, that's one way where typically computer generated, where now with the newer system, not entirely sure how that would work. It's a little different, but typically it used to be where electrical audits we done like every 10th permit, for instance, a random audit would be assigned. Another means would be through maybe a referral. If a building inspector is out and sees something on site that concerns them, they would contact our unit and ask for Inspector Parisi to go out and take a look, or possibly from a complaint that comes in through 311 or along those lines that's specifically about an electrical issue. Those are the different mechanisms that would bring it to our attention.
So here, if it's the case that there's a problem with an inspection, is this something that the department will always cite the inspection company like United for?
No, typically if there's a case about an issue with the electrical work itself, primarily there'll be a case written with violations assigned to the electrical contractor. The only time where by code where normally would come back and fall on the third party agency would be if there was work that was inspected that was either not according to plan or against code and approved.
So this was an example of a case where it was not according to the plan and it had been approved by the inspector.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Correct.
I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jaquette, do you have any cross?
Yes, briefly. Thank you. Mr. Figueroa, you've heard me asking questions to Mr. Parisi as to the date of the final inspection, correct?
Yes.
And I had asked him because I was looking at your Eclipse system that shows that the final was performed in October of 2022, correct?
I'd have to double check. This is on permit EP 2022-000489, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the right. As far as the system, I see the permits closed out on October 21st. It has schedule. It says for final request inspection, scheduled start date May 10th, 2022, and then date completed April 25th, 2022, and it says final electrical inspection. So those are the dates I see associated with the final inspection in our system. The permit's closed out October 21st. It's showing a final inspection scheduled on May 10th, 2022, and it says completed April 25th, 2022.
Okay. So scheduling something does not mean it took place that day, correct?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. And the fact that it wasn't completed date until October 22, to me, that would mean that it actually didn't, a final wouldn't have taken place in May and submitted in October, correct?
I'd have to double check. It just, I'm reading the description here, and then the request, it says request, initial electrical inspection agency, a final electrical inspection for May 10th, 2022. It's showing is completed April 25th. I don't know, somewhere between May 10th and April 25th, the final inspection was done. Yeah, I other than that, I can't really speak to when. Yeah, that's what's in the system.
Is it in the system, or is it part of your unit or L&I in general, I guess, that the third-party inspection company has to make you aware of the specific date that a final is being performed?
I'd have to double check the code about a specific date. What I do recall is that any like deficiencies with the system that's encountered, that is supposed to be, the department's supposed to be notified of those.
And that request for an inspection date, the scheduling of May 10th, that's actually for your building inspector to go out there, right? Not for the third party inspector?
That, no, because so a request isn't made through Eclipse for our inspector to go out there.
If the rough inspection was done on April 26, 2022, wouldn't that be a little bit of a quick turnaround to have a final inspection 14 days later?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, the rough inspection was done on April 26, 2022, and Mr. Parisi was trying to state that the final was done on May 10th. You would agree with me that 14 days later between a rough wire inspection and a final inspection is awfully quick, correct?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, it could be seen that way as quick.
Because a rough wire inspection is done when there's no walls on the rooms or anything. You know, they get the rough approval to go in, check the wires are good, and then the walls can be put up and continuing construction, correct?
That would make the most sense, that a rough inspection is done when the electrical work is exposed, and then final, I suppose, will be done at the end.
Okay, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Any further questions of the witness?
No, the city would ask that C1 and C2 be admitted, and the city rests.
So admitted. Sir, I do have this question for you, though, Mr. Figueroa.
Yes.
I'm a little confused by the dates. That May 10th to April date. At May 10th, that's 2021 or 2022?
2022.
And that April date is what year?
Same year, 2022.
So, well, how can that be? I mean, May 10th was the final inspection date?
No, so what I'm looking at here, this is within the system, and it's a request inspection. It says May 10th, 2022 is it says scheduled start date, which is I believe is just based on when it was requested by the user. And then April 25th, 2022, it just states that was the, it says date completed. So
Well, that's
that
after
would
the-
be the step in the process
Okay.
where we go
I'm
to the
probably-
next one.
Okay, I think I'm not, I'm confused. The April comes before May.
I was thinking.
Right. Again, it's, yeah, I it's what's in the system. Why it's showing up that way, I don't know.
Okay, all right. It's not helping me much, but okay, understood. If there are any, the city rests, so Mr. Jaquette, is your turn.
Okay, call Jim Dollard.
Mr. Dollar, I think you've been sworn, so you're prepared to proceed.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank everybody that takes part today in these hearings. They're very important. This is actually a very simple situation here. I think there was some confusion on the part of the city. As you heard,
I'm gonna object here. I mean, he's testifying as a narrative here. There's no question that's been asked.
Yeah, well, actually, Mr. Jaquette, I'd ask you to direct your client via your questions and directions. And I often say this, I didn't say it this time, but let me say it now. I knew him to say that. I'd ask everyone who's represented by counsel, that's both city witnesses as well as appellate witnesses, please respond in response to your counsel. That's why you brought them in as a hearing witness. And pay attention to what they direct you to do. Thank you, Mr. Jaquette.
Yes, Mr. Dollar, before we get into this actual situation, can you advise the board of your position at United Inspection Agency?
Yes, I can. I am the Director of Code Compliance at United Inspection Agency.
And to give the board a little bit of background, can you just talk about your education or certification or background to get you to that position?
Yes, I served a 42-year career in the electrical industry. I have a significant code background. I've been an NFPA technical committee member since 1996. I served on 5 different National Electrical Code committees, chaired one for 9 years. I'm on the NFPA 70E committee, but my background in codes and standards, specifically electrically related, is significant.
And again, just a little background. How does United get these jobs for the city?
How do we get assigned to these jobs? The owner or the owner's representative names us on a permit, and at that point we become the third-party electrical inspection agency.
So Philadelphia doesn't have their own electrical inspections to perform these inspections?
No, they don't do it like they do some other inspections. No, sir.
Okay. You heard the testimony earlier from Mr. Parisi, correct?
Yes, I did.
And he stated that he went out there on May 19th and testified that by that point, the final approval had been submitted by, or had been performed by United. Did you hear him say that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. In fact, wasn't the rough inspection on this matter done at the end of April on April 25th, 2022? I'm sorry, April 26th?
It was done on April 26th, yes.
Okay. And what issues did United Inspection discuss with the contractor at that point? Were they the issues that were on this violation?
Yeah, there were every issue that was on this violation was discussed with the contractors, and that's part of what a rough is. We go out and we see things, and they have to be corrected before they get a final.
And to your knowledge, were each of these violations set forth that Mr. Parisi discussed, the grounding electrode conductor being undersized, was that remedied before the final approval?
Yes, it was remedied, but there is significant reason why it was the way when he was at that location.
Can you explain that briefly?
Yes, sir, I can. At that time, and even after we received the violation, there was significant construction activity at that location. The metal underground water pipe outside had been dug up. If I don't know that we need to, but you may want to, as our counsel, asked them to bring the pictures back up. If you take a look at the picture that was pointed out by Mr. Parisi that terminates on the metal underground water pipe, you can see that that is an old rubber covered, looks like a solid number 8. Then you take a look at another picture that was there, and you'll see a stapled black conductor that Mr. Parisi identified as the same grounding electrode conductor. If you blow that up a little bit, you'll see that that is probably a 50-year-old conductor, old rubber conductor. And then if you go to the next picture that Mr. Parisi pointed out, and he correctly points out as the grounding electrode right there, that is a new stranded number 6 going to 2 ground rods. The National Electrical Code requires that if a metal underground water pipe is present at the building or structure, it be part of the grounding electrode system. At that time, it was dug up, and the grounding electrode was that number 6 there with 2 6s. After they finished that work and put it all back together, the electrical contractor did comply with the National Electrical Code with the right size grounding electrode conductor to the metal underground water pipe.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate you bringing up those photos. How about to the issue that I was speaking with Mr. Parisi about the panels and the locations within the home?
Yeah, it is very typical on every job site for those types of modifications to be made. There are many, many reasons for it. As Mr. Parisi pointed out, there was a brick wall on one side. Then if you go into the wall on the other side, you have sound attenuation issues, you have insulation issues, and a decision is made there on site with respect to be code compliant and to work within the building and the intent of the design of the building, and it was moved to the basement. All tenants have access and have always had access through the building design into the basement and to the house panel and everything else that's in the basement because they use it for storage.
And earlier I said to Mr. Parisi that my understanding is that there's a door to the basement that every tenant has access to the basement. Is that correct?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, after we received the notice of violation and we were out there, they had decided, they made some other changes and they were going to put a full-size window in there. And we took exception with that because everybody needed access to the basement. And they didn't put the same door back up, but they put a new door back up.
Let's just get one thing straight. From United Inspection's position here, was final approval given at any point in May of 2022 for this project?
No.
When was final approval given?
In October of the same year.
And by that time, had all of these issues been dealt with subsequent to, the violations being prematurely given?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it your understanding in working in this world for all these years that violations should be given to an inspection agency in between a rough inspection and a final inspection?
No, if we were to go down that road, it would never work because rough inspections identify issues. That's the reason we have a rough inspection, so that we don't get to final stages and then tell people you have to start pulling building finishes off and opening walls. So that would trying an audit program during a rough would be extremely, extremely problematic for all parties involved.
And to this timing issue that there seems to be some glitch in the system or something, if the rough inspection was done April 26th, is it in any way normal or customary that the final inspection would be performed 14 days later?
Not on a job of this size, no.
And just so the board knows, what does that mean on a job of this size?
Well, once we give them, the ability, a rough to close walls, they need to close walls. There's building finishes, there's HVAC, there's plumbing, and in this case they had water work that they were doing. They had the street open, so from April 26th to 5/10, it was an impossibility to get that job done.
Okay, and as the reporting to LNI, is United Inspection required to let LNI know of the date they're going out to do the final inspection, or is that submitted after the fact?
No, it's again, that would be extremely problematic to try to do because you have to work with the contractor, with the owner, with supply chain issues, and then when they get to that point and they know they're done and they're code compliant, they'll call us and then we'll go out and we'll make that verification and then apply a final at that point.
Okay, so there's no communication required from United where or even in the practice of United, that you tell L&I ahead of time when you're going out for a final?
No.
That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any cross-examination, Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Briefly, Mr. Dollard, you had testified that based on the building, they had changed the design to put the electrical panel in the basement, correct?
Yes.
Now, at the time they did that installation, however, the plans showed where Mr. Priestley was indicated that the electrical panel should have been upstairs, correct?
On the first floor, it showed on the first floor in the vestibule.
Right. And so, and they never went back and got the electrical permit plans amended, did they?
I'm unaware if they did.
I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions for the witness?
No, I don't have any.
Okay,
Yeah, I have
thank you.
a question for Mr.
Yes,
Dollard.
please. Yes.
Kind of piggybacking off the last question regarding going back and getting approval. Did they, not just getting the approval for the change of the system service, but did they also inform the plans examiner of the change in order to revise the plans, the approved plans, so that they indicate where the service panel box was now located in the basement?
The service equipment for all of those panel boards is always located in the basement. There, what you have is you've got that 5-gang meter housing, and then in the basement, you've got circuit breaker enclosures. That's your service equipment there. So the service equipment for all occupants was already in the basement. That's done. And then you've got feeders going to each panel board.
So if I'm correct, and correct me, I'm not an expert in this field, but Mr. Parisi testified that the plans read that those panel boxes were located on the first floor, Mr. Dollard?
On the first, yeah, the house panel was located on the first floor, yes.
And then it was changed on site to the basement?
Yes, sir.
And was the plans engineer notified so that they can make the revisions on the plans to be within the department on record?
I'm unaware. I'll have to check. I'll have to look.
Is that a standard procedure so that the city has a record of the change and the location, so that in the event anything going forward and the insurance agencies for et cetera go to the municipality, those records and plans would indicate where they exactly are?
I would have to go back and look to see if that was done. I don't know. I'll have to try to get into the Eclipse system and take a look at the drawings that are there now.
So do you know if anyone from United informed the plans department of the necessary change for revision on those plans?
I don't know that occurred. I do know that we discussed that with the contractor on site.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Dollard, you referenced the size of the project. What is the size of this project?
It's not really that big. It's a 4-unit project with the house panel, but to try to say that in a span of just over, or actually in a 2-week span, you could go from a rough to a final. It's just impossible. It's impossible to get all those trades in and out of there and get everything done and have it done in a neat and workmanlike manner.
Is that a new construction or renovation?
It was a renovation, which actually takes a little bit longer. Believe it, a newer construction actually goes in quicker.
Okay, so it was a 4-unit renovation. Do you have any, and I guess maybe I should direct this to your counsel, sir. Did you plan to submit any photographs of any work that was inspected by United? The final inspection or anything? Indicating that things that were in violation were actually corrected and changed?
I'm not aware of them being in possession of those photos.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions from anyone?
I have one quick question. Mr. Dollard, were you the inspector that was conducting the inspections of the installation at this location?
No, I was not.
So your testimony is based primarily on your review of records, is that correct?
Yes, I was involved immediately after receiving the violation. So the work was ongoing and was able to, see exactly what was on the violation, the status of the job, and I testified to that here today.
So you went out to the site once the violation notice was received. Did you do any subsequent inspections?
I did not. United did, but I personally.
Well, yes, but I'm asking you specifically if you have personal knowledge, having done any inspections of the site subsequent to that one visit when the notice was received.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Dollar, do you have any way of confirming the date of final inspection by your company?
I have my documentation here, which was printed from Eclipse this morning. Let me just find it. I've got a couple of things, a couple of moving pieces here. It shows this here from the city.
Well, I can't see that, but if you just read it to us, I can't see it.
This shows the bottom because this is where you get the declaration and signature of the final. And
yes,
it says electrical inspector signature. This would be Chris Gabriel, and the date is 10/18/22.
And that's the date that he signed it and submitted it to Eclipse.
Yeah, and this is the city's document, and then I believe that this got put into the system on a couple of days later. I think the 22nd.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, I do need, again, in this instance, I do need to confer with my colleagues for about 2 minutes. It's 4:25, 4:30, we'll come back and put the vote on the record. Back in the record regarding HA-2022-002499, 4219 West Girard Avenue, United Inspection Agencies. Is there no additional argument from Mr. Jaquette or Mr. Johnson? If not, we will call the vote. I don't see anyone making any raising hands or indicating otherwise. Okay.
Could I just say a few sentences?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I think that our position is clear that this was done between the rough and the final, and that the system shows the city's documents that the final was performed later with everything had been performed. And at a very bare minimum, although I think all the violations should be dismissed, Mr. Parisi's own testimony was that this really is only one violation, not two as submitted on the form. So at the very most, there would be one violation for a fine, not two. Thank you.
Could I just add something?
Yes, please.
I think it's clear if you read the code in section 9-1305 that approving work that does deviate from the approved plans is a violation. And, I would leave it to the board whether it should be one or two violations.
Before I get to call the final vote, Mr. Johnson, I do have this clarification required. Does that populate two violations, or is it called out specifically by the inspector as two violations?
I don't know if the system automatically does that or what would cause that, but I think it's fair to say that here the main violation would be approving work that deviated from the plans. And there are ways you can split hairs about the number of times it deviated from the plans, but
okay,
that if you read the code, it will explain that. I can.
No, we aren't going to go back.
Okay.
Just asking. Okay, all right. Thank you. We've already placed the appeal number on the record. We will now vote. City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
That is unbelievable.
Thank you. Sir, this is our decision. You can appeal our decision. Thank you so much for your participation. Have a good afternoon.
How can you give a violation before a final approval date?
Sir, we've argued and we voted. No further discussion is required.
It just doesn't
We move
make
on
any
to the ne-
sense.
We move on to the next matter. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks for the waste of time.
Chair, I'd like to bring one case that was resolved in the interim.
Yes.
Case number 13, hearing appeal number HA 2022-002585, 1325 West Roosevelt Boulevard. Edwin Masali. Mr. Masali was having problems with the Zoom. He went to a breakout room with Will Fernandez, and they may have reached an agreement.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board. I spoke with Mr. Masali, who I believe is still here via telephone. And after conferring with Inspector Gonzalez, the inspector assigned to this case, we have an agreement that the violations issued under CF 2022-039956. I'm sorry, that is the correct number. The violations issued under that case number are to be marked city affirmed with a 60-day stay of enforcement.
60-day stay of enforcement. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Masala, are you present? He's not responding, so I will accept your statement that in fact he concurs. All righty. We will hold the board on HA-2022-002-585, 1325 West Roosevelt Boulevard, Edwin Masali. Per the agreement between the parties, city affirmed a 60-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed with the 60-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 60-day stay of enforcement per agreement.
City affirmed 60-day stay of enforcement per agreement.
Thank you very much. Okay, that resolves that matter. Okay, Mr. Wade, what's our next case?
Okay, there was one other matter that I believe both attorneys on case number 37 were consulting about a possible continuance. I'll read it into the record, and then Ms. Reinhart will proceed. Case number 37, hearing appeal number HA 2022-002201, 2017 East Allegheny Ave, Reach Community Development.
Okay, Ms. Reinhart.
Good afternoon, board. Counsel for Appellant Steve Baudelaire is also here as well. We are making a joint continuance request in order to resolve the matter that is
Ms. Reinhart, you're frozen, I believe. Okay, Ms. Reinhart is having some connectivity issues. Ms. Baudelaire, are you in a position to describe the agreement?
Yes, Chairman. I've discussed with Ms. Reinhart via email and 2 phone calls this afternoon, a joint request for a continuance to August 1st, 2022. There is another issue we have to resolve, as well as the matters presented in the appeal today. And that is why we're requesting the August 1st date at the discretion of the board.
Okay. So we'll.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just want to make sure that the date that he just stated was correct. August the 1st, not 2022.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2023.
2023. That is correct, sir. And I apologize for that error to the board.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Ms. Reinhart I think she's back. Go ahead.
I apologize. I do trust Mr. Baudelaire to have represented the joint agreement accurately.
Okay, thank you. So we will, as requested, continue this to at least August 2023. Okay, thank you. It's a continued matter.
Thank you. May we be excused?
Yes, please. You're excused.
All right, that brings us back to case number 12. I just want to remind any of the attorneys that if they did want to meet with someone in a breakout room, they can just message me in the chat and I can assign that if there was any appellant that they would like to speak with. So that brings us to case 12. Hearing appeal number HA 2022-002-571, 7004 Grays Avenue, Wanda,
Let me mute this. I'm on a board.
GBEMUDU.
Good afternoon, board members. This is Michael Rulo on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rulo. You have an inspector as a witness today?
Yes, Inspector Sean Howard is here, but as an initial matter, I do not believe that the appellant is on the line.
Okay.
Service was made.
Service is made, okay. This case is regarding 7004 Grays Avenue. That's 7004 Grays Avenue, Wanda Gimbudu. Bimudu, GBEMUDU. Wanda Gimbudu. Is that person present? Anyone associated or attached to that address present? 7004 Grays Avenue. Okay, Mr. Rulo, what is your present?
I would request a city affirm failure to appear.
Okay, thank you. At the moment, let's see. Ms. Penn, would you give me a time, please?
The time is 4:42.
4:42. Mr. Tennant will not be voting on this matter. We will now call the vote regarding HA-2022-002571, 7004 Grays Avenue. The appellant is Wanda, GBEMUDU. City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there's a question for you.
Yes.
Do we have to make note that we are now in a panel?
Thank you. It should be just noted for everyone participating. By code, we are authorized to hear and vote on cases with a minimum of 3 individuals sitting in the hearing. Mr. Tennant is momentarily not on the panel. He has to take care of a personal matter. So
I've got it clear, Mr. Board.
Okay, you're clear now. But we just went ahead and took care of something.
Again,
Okay, no problem. All right, thank you very much. What's that next case, Mr. Wade?
Case number 14.
Okay.
Hearing appeal number HA 2022-002601, 2521 Master Street, Laverne Spence.
Laverne Spence. Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Will Fernandez for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, Laverne Spence. Laverne Spence. Anyone representing 2521 Master Street? Okay, was there service, Mr. Wade?
Miss Spence is on the line.
Oh, she is?
But I believe she's on a phone.
Okay. I just saw her icon go from muted to not muted, but I haven't heard anything.
Miss Spence.
Okay, is there any way we can connect to her or call her or something?
Mr. Fernandez, is this something that we could possibly do as at least touch base in the breakout room while we call another case?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to another matter while we try to connect with Ms. Spence.
Case number 15, hearing appeal number HA 2022-002610.
That one is moot complied, I believe.
Moot complied, Tyrone Halliger?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, you can.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
So I think we're on the next page here. My records indicate that we're on 28.
You're correct, apologies. Case number 28, hearing appeal number HA 2022-002722, 4641 Germantown Avenue, Stephanie Mobley.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Will Fernandez for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, Mr. Fernandez, Stephanie Mobley. Anyone present?
I sent Ms. Mobley a copy of our evidence packet several days ago. I received no response. I've been monitoring the hearing room and I haven't seen her name at all. And so given what appears to be her failure to appear, I would ask that this be marked city affirmed.
Service was made.
Service was made. Okay, may I have the time, Mr. Tennant?
Is 4:45 p.m.
4:45 p.m. Okay, thank you very much. HA-2022-002722, 4641 Germantown Avenue, Stephanie Mobley, city affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think number 36 may be our next one.
What the
Oh,
29?
that's rescheduled. No, I'm sorry, 36 is rescheduled, so that's not being heard today. Okay.
And
what do you have for
and
next
I
one?
33.
33 was a continuance request.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, this is Caroline Curley with the Law Department. That was a continuance request, but the board hadn't actually granted it. At the beginning of the session, if you recall, someone, I have no idea who, sent a continuance request to Mr. Wade about, I think, 10 minutes before the hearing started.
Okay.
So the city does want to object to that.
Okay, so now I just want to be certain that we're all talking about the same case. So Mr. Wade, would you read that in, please?
Case number 33, hearing appeal number HA 2022-002770-5717 King Crescent Avenue, Ghulam Mustafa.
Okay, all right. Mr. Wade, was the service perfected in that matter?
Service was perfected, and I believe this continuance request was sent at 1:19, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Curley, what is your record? What is your objection?
Yes, so after reviewing the continuance request forwarded to the city by Mr. Wade, as he correctly indicated at 1:19 p.m., all that is stated is that please, it says request to reschedule on account of appellant being out of the country since April 11th, expected to return May 8th. There are 2 flight tickets attached. The city is just going to object. Our witness is here and ready to present today. A flight from April 11th to May 8th is not, a good cause shown for why this hearing should be rescheduled, especially given the very late nature of the request. If it looks like this flight was booked April 11th, there was plenty of time to notify the board before that, or even during this flight. There's no other information for the city to understand why this continuance request was made. It's not like the flight happened today and there was no time to make a case for that or to present it to the board. So for those reasons, the city is going to formally object to a continuance of this matter at this time.
Okay, I do have a few questions for you as a follow-up. This is a building permit. Do you know if there's any health or safety issues involved?
There are not.
Okay, is this a commercial space, do you know, or residential?
It appears to be residential.
And this Ghulam Mustafa, is it indicated whether that person resides in that address or not?
I believe he does not, as the appeal paperwork, his appeal paperwork provides an address in New York.
Okay, thank you very much. Based on your argument, my view, you make a compelling argument. Therefore, we will vote on this for lack of appearance. With regard, so I will HA-2022-002770, 5717 King Crescent Avenue, Ghulam Mustafa. The request for continuance is denied, and therefore we will vote on the outcome of the case that's prepared before us today. What time do we have, Mr. Tennant?
4:50 p.m.
4:50 p.m. We will call the vote. City affirmed, non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. I think that resolves it.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any? We do have one outstanding matter. That's number 14. Is that correct? Laverne
Yes.
Spence. Any success?
Miss Spence? Miss Spence? I could try and reach out to her. You give me 1 second.
Okay. Mr. Fernandez, what's the nature of this issue?
Mr. Chairman, this is a set of violations issued essentially related to using a single-family dwelling as a rooming house.
Okay.
In her appeal, the appellant states that the conditions don't match what's reflected in the violations. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but something along those lines.
Okay.
I attempted to reach the appellant earlier this hearing about an hour ago and was unable to.
Is it just also a zoning issue? Since particular use, that sort of thing required?
Give me one moment and I will refer to the evidence packet. Yes, there are the violations are of the administrative code and for not having the right rental license, but through the administrative code, they are referencing use registration violations.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Will you give a moment for Mr. Wade to try to reach her?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, if I met, well, I'll wait till we go off record.
Yeah.
And it's just regarding when I was not on Zoom.
Okay, no problems. We were able to proceed. We're good.
And I will say, given the bizarre circumstances where Ms. Spence clearly is attempting to attend the hearing and yet isn't responsive, I wouldn't oppose continuing this to another date.
Okay, we'll see what Mr. Wade can share with us in a moment. But no cease operation was issued, correct?
No, just there was, I'm sorry. Let me take a moment. No, here it's just violations issued in June of 2022.
Mr. Wade, have you been able to make contact with her?
I'm making contact with her right now. She's having problems with the mic on her computer.
Okay, let's do this. Given the nature of it, Mr. Fernandez has offered to continue the matter. I'd rather do that than have us hang around just and
hold on.
Put over this.
Okay.
All right, so
she can hear everything we're saying. I also have her on hold. So if you want to continue it and.
Yes, let's continue it because I'd like her to be fully present and participating rather than some other, unless she has another device she can sign on with.
Let me.
If she has a laptop or.
Are you agreeable to the continuance? I mean, this will be heard at a different date, but you'll have to take the necessary steps to be able to be present on the Zoom. And also the ability to see you as well. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. You can also reach out to counselor, your local council person. There are people that will help you. Okay. You'll receive it in the mail. Okay. Good. All right. Good luck.
Okay. So we'll continue this matter. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that concludes our list for today. Unless someone knows otherwise. If
I
not,
just have a
Mr.
question.
Superintendent has asked for us to join him in breakout room. We'll do that.
Yes.
But thank you all who are currently still on the line for your participation and your patience. Have a good day.
Thank you, members of the board.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Take care.